Good afternoon, everyone. Coinbase says they could wipe out your funds. General unsecured creditor. Oh wait, the banking system does the same thing. If they need money, they take yours. The days of nostalgia Coca-Cola when hamburgers were 15 cents and carbon credits in British Columbia were $45 a ton. Average rent New York City apartment, too much, well above $4,000. 70% inflation in Turkey. Electric prices sending people to the streets. We need our goods delivered. Age of American infrastructure. Speaking of infrastructure, the dots continue to grow along China, waiting to load or unload. The World Ahead 2022, end of June, 6 o'clock. And we get to decide right now where our world goes. Sell in May and go away. Crash is king. As the sell-off in the stock market has crushed Americans' IRAs and 401ks. Morgan Stanley says all stocks inside the index are likely to see a steep downward decline. Deutsche Bank and Citi are predicting a major recession. Barron's and Lawrence Lepard betting that gold hits 3,000 in the next 2 years. Russia, Saudi Arabia, and China are looking to diversify out of U.S. dollar-denominated assets. And now Russia demanding payment for natural gas in rubles. So could this spell the end of the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency? Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has the no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Call 1-800-356-4470 for a free investor guide today. And with the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated IRA gold dealer from 2016 to present, click on that link in the description box below. And now on with the video. And a way to look at the crisis to crisis to crisis. What's next on the horizon after that? Cleanup set? I think so. October 2022. Are you hearing a lot about crypto these days? Oh, yes, we are. Iceland cutting electricity to crypto miners amid power crunch. Low hydropower, but also some industrial activities and data centers are being affected. And remember when I talked about change the code campaign? World Economic Forum says Bitcoin, the way it's coded, needs to be changed to eliminate its environmental impact. But don't worry, if you still decide to mine it, you're going to have to pay this much in carbon credit taxes. A new base of the monetary system as we march through the reset. Minimum carbon tax, and look at that on the bottom, 2030, they want $170. I've actually heard $200 will be the peg to start a new economy based on carbon allocation credits. But the reason I would bring this up is even if you think you're going to crypto, you're still going to have to pay the carbon credits to mine it or use it. It's going to be built into the electric fees whether you like it or not. But Coinbase coming out, earnings were bad, okay. But they're warning now that they could wipe out user funds if forced into bankruptcy or bankruptcy proceedings. Now, what does that mean for us? Highlighted in blue, Coinbase users, that's anybody who has bought or sold or holds crypto on their platform. They control the keys, not you. Remember when the Bitcoin cash fork came and all that debacle was happening? That's Coinbase. Notice that you as a holder of crypto on their platform are termed a general unsecured creditor, meaning you have no right to claim any specific property from the exchange in the proceedings, meaning you lost everything. And I said, well, that is really interesting because I remember after the 2008-9 financial crisis, all the laws were changed to, quote unquote, protect everybody, keep the bad Wall Streeters away. And bank bail-ins versus bank bailouts. In blue, banks use money from their unsecured creditors. That's you putting your deposit in the bank. You don't own it, including depositors and bondholders. That's why I'm going to say it again. You don't own your money. You don't own your crypto if it's on a centralized exchange. Now, Coinbase was considered the rock solid of all things cryptocurrency. Why are they coming out with warnings now? And the Bank for International Settlements, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, World Economic Forum, and other central banks around the world are yelling at the top of their lungs, food shortages in October globally. You've been warned again. You know, the elite, they have their certain rules at the club they play by. They have to warn you and tell you what's going to happen so they can facilitate that because you acquiesced. They told you what they were going to do. You didn't stop it. You didn't resist at all. This is what happens. Coinbase is telling you they're going to take all your funds. Bank bail-ins, it took 12 years or so, but they're telling you now they're going to take your funds. It's already written in the law. So just to be clear, when you deposit the money into a bank, it is not yours anymore. You're an unsecured creditor. They can decide to give you back the money or not. And up to this point, every day you ask for it back, it comes. But as we get toward October, there's going to be a day when it won't. And they'll just say, refer back to the bail-in law, please. Next, thank you. And anything in your safe deposit box is also going to be confiscated and sold for the bank's debts. So they can make risky decisions all day long, play their financial games, and if they crash, oh well, we'll just steal everybody's money that's in the bank as an unsecured creditor, and then we'll ask for the government for bailouts. You get harvested first. That's how we're going in through October. Red lights are flashing everywhere. Currency, cryptocurrency, and food, and electricity, and fuel, all getting short. You better get ready. That's what, if you haven't read anything in the news, that's the short version. And more disruptions in supply chains across the world. Chinese locks down Yiwu, which was the wholesale market of China. You'd see, if you ever had been to China, you always saw Yiwu ads all over the television programming. That's in Zhejiang. And then Ningbo is also in Zhejiang, but it's closed. And so is Shanghai, and Hangzhou, and Suzhou. And Tianjin's rolling to a stop. And everywhere you look, things are seizing up in China. So to put this in perspective, this is from May 3rd, and no ships have entered. Now we're on the 11th of May. So imagine the dot is probably further solid past South Korea, past Taiwan. There are ships everywhere as far as the eye can see. You could probably just sit up the shore with your binoculars and look out like they have many, many pictures in California of tankers and container vessels waiting to unload. So it's all about the infrastructure from here. What we carry is what we could get. A lot of food's moving down the locks. Expected service age 50, the locks are at 63 years old. 13 years past, the full expected service date finished. Don't use them anymore. They're dangerous. That moves an enormous amount of food around the world, especially around North America. These locks and chambers head up to the top of the Mississippi River and see how frequently they're used through the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence Seaway, and you'll be astounded how much food moves through locks and levees and dams and goes under bridges across America. Producer price index, all-time high yet again. So everything costs more. Even if they can move it through aging infrastructure and bottlenecks to get it to you, it's going to cost way more. And speaking of costing more, New York City, one bedroom apartment. Again, Chelsea, $6,600 a month. That's over double. And then we look at Upper West Side, $4,600. That's an 85% increase. And not $4,000 a month. You could have a working farm with that if that's just your rent in comparison. Now, for some other nations, such as Turkey, 70% inflation. Now, this is coming to a world near you at the end of the year. The electricity bills seem to be something that are driving people to the streets. And this will drive even Americans to the streets. So if your food prices have doubled or tripled or not available, your electricity prices are doubling or being turned off or rolling brownouts, blackouts, whatever it might be. There's a lot of talk about disruptions in the grid. And then there's a currency collapse or some sort of stock market collapse where the banks go back in as unsecured creditors and swoop everybody's money. Or even if there's just a general downturn in the market that continues for quite a while, leading from recession into depression. Looking into October, all of these things coming together, especially with the food. The food's going to be the catalyst that's going to, I think, get people on the streets more than electrical prices. But if you can't drive because you don't have fuels either, that'll add into the volatile mix. And that's kind of a preview for this holiday season, so shop early. And back to electrical prices, home heating prices, driving people to the streets. Imagine if we were using Nikola Tesla inventions, electrical oscillators from the 1880s with magnetic motors, electrogravitics. This is from the autobiography of Nikola Tesla, the version where he does get into it with Edison and how he was taken advantage of, is a polite word. But these technologies existed and still do exist. Patented 1880s. Now the world ahead, a glimpse off the Economist magazine. I thought I'd revisit this as we're coming into quarter of 2022. And as you move from the 12 o'clock position, just use that as different quarters or months through the year. And as we're getting down, we've just crossed from the 4 o'clock position and we're moving toward the 6 o'clock position, which will be shortly after the solstice at the end of June. The last day of June will mark that 6 o'clock position. So from now until then, do we see a representation of cuneiform text? Because as soon as we get at the end of June, it looks like things turn upside down, literally. That is a reversed image. So leave your comments in the description box below. What do you think the symbols mean? And whatever I see right now, all things are pointing to get ready for October, including growing your own food. Check out this self-sufficient backyard. There's an enormous amount of these diagrams online. And Food Forest Abundance also has sets of food forests that you can design yourself. You're definitely going to need to look into that because the UK are actually encouraging farmers to exit. And they will pay them not to farm their land, and they will actually buy them out and try to reforest it or turn it into a green project. But they want farmers to leave. So I'm asking, where does the food come from? Because Mexico's discussing price pact with top firms to tame inflation. Say that 3 times really fast. Mexico's government is trying to work with private companies to stop food price rises that will send people to the streets. And inflation looking at 7.72%. But the Mexican staples, they don't list them, but you know what they're going to be. It's going to be the same staples a lot of the world uses. Rice and bean. And coming across the airwaves, it looks like global rice production is going to be down 10%. But that's the initial number that they just gave last week. And as we progress through this growing season when there's not enough fertilizer for the rice either, that coming into midsummer, it's going to decline further. And watch this. It'll tick up. It's 10% now, but I would imagine as we move through the next few months, it'll go to 15%, and then it'll be at 20%, and it'll be a scary story, and that'll run with the news, and wheat will follow that, and then corn will follow that. So what are you going to buy for the staples? You might want to start putting some stuff aside like yesterday. And now we have Algeria threatening to cut Spain's gas supply over Morocco dispute. So Algeria warning that if Spain forwards any of the gas that it sends for Spain to other parts of Europe, naughty. We're going to cut you off if you do that. Heightened tensions with Morocco over Western Saharas. So if you want to dig further into that, look into the GME pipeline and how that crosses countries in dispute right now, Morocco and Algeria. But look at this. More than 50 central banks have lifted their interest rates, which means they're going to constrict the economy on purpose. That's what it means. They could be loose like they have when the quantitative easing, free money forever. I mean, look at these last, 4 years of just never ending money printing. Print, 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 more, buy, buy, buy. Zero interest loans to the largest corporations on the planet to swoop up everything for no interest, which means they can buy more. Now suddenly all these countries in tandem are starting to tighten and really squeeze the money supply and cause recessions and cause shortages on purpose. So, you got to look how much of this is manufactured and how much of the food shortages on purpose are going to drive you to more dependence on your digital ration cards as we move through into October. Because everything you're looking at playing out here is a game. But if you notice how the world suddenly all moves in lockstep, it's like a school of fish anymore. All the countries doing the exact same thing. So these 50, soon it'll be 100. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen to the economy with everything locking up right now? It's on purpose. Oh, in the days of old, what year do you think this jug of Coca-Cola syrup was from? From Atlanta, delicious and refreshing, right along with McDonald's. USDA inspected beef, it still is. Assurance of quality. Hamburgers are 15 cents. Milkshake, 20 cents. That appears to be when the dollar was worth more and had more purchasing power than it does now. So we truly sit at a precipice of humanity. We have the choice of where we're moving from now through October, and then after the restrictive measures to food and access to food occur in October, we're all going to have to make choices, and we have 6 months to really prepare. Because when it comes to the harvest season in October, everything you've seen in this video is just a small scraping of the surface of truly what's happening with the fertilizer shortages, herbicide shortages, the cutoff of exports of corn and wheat from Ukraine and Russia. We're looking at massive deficits across the planet of up to 40% of all agriculture this year will not be grown. And when we get to this level of numbers, this is something we haven't ever seen. This is a once in a 2,000 year event that's occurring. So look at it as a cycle duration as well. So the power that is influencing our solar system and our Earth with the electromagnetic field is also on, it looks like a 2,000 year iteration of power. There's heavier, more powerful cycles, and there's lighter cycles. The El Nino, La Nina, that's a cycle. The solar cycle, solar maximum, solar minimum, that's another cycle. Day, night, that's a cycle. Winter, summer, that's another cycle. You already understand the cycles. But this one's a very long, and very heavy, and very powerful cycle. Somebody knew what was going to happen when we were entering this, when the biggest disruption would occur, because the disruption occurs because the stability we did have is suddenly thrown into chaos. There's no more stability entering into the cycle. The most disruption is the entry point where we sit now. So who would have known this information? Who's front running it? Who's trying to retain power on the other side? At the same time, orchestrating what looks like chess pieces being moved around to funnel everybody into a digital rationing card. And we're going to need some storable foods. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. 3-month emergency food supply to get you through emergencies so you don't have to face the crowds at the stores because you prepared in advance. Also growing your own foods, trueleafmarket.com, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. It is planting time right now. For the next couple months, you can still get a huge amount of food out of a small space. Also, thanks for spending your valuable time and watching what I had to say. Now, it's up to you to go out and do the rest of the research on your own. Share these links, follow the links, follow up on what I was talking about in this story here, put together with different images and graphics, which are all linked in the description box below. Everything's there. Just click and go, along with the links for along with the links for My Patriot Supply and True Leaf Market. And I'll see you next video. Bye for now. Those links are in the description box below. It helps me be able to do more research when you buy something. Also, thanks for spending your valuable time and watching what I had to say. Now, it's up to you to go out and do the rest of the research on your own. Share these links, follow the links, follow up on what I was talking about in this story here, put together with different images and graphics, which are all linked in the description box below. Everything's there. Just click and go, along with the links for my Patriot Supply and True Leaf Market. And I'll see you next video. Bye for now.